Hey guys, so many of you guys know that I've been having quite a bit of generator issues recently. So I have this generator right here. It's a Generac 16 IX 1600, and I'm gonna go over this one. I just got this. This is what this video is going to be about. But I was going to go over this one briefly. What kind of went wrong with it? If you haven't watched my other videos, this is a Generac IX 1600. Generac or Honeywell gave it to me after. I have another Honeywell generator just like this that failed. The inverter failed and it had major fuel issues. They sent me this in the mail to replace that one essentially, and I still have that one. And this one probably has 25 hours on it. I used it overnight once, and I've used it sparingly a few times to run kind of chore stuff, do a little work around the yard. And it ran overnight once to keep a heater running to a PVC pipe water main to keep it warm, so it wouldn't be able to, the pipe would be able to seal up. And so this thing only has 25 hours on it, and the inverter went on it, the portion that sort of levels out the power and makes it good for sensitive electronics. And so it essentially doesn't make any power anymore. No electricity comes out of this thing, and so it's pretty much worthless. The inverter portion is like $700 or $600. It runs fine, but for the same, for cheaper, I can buy a new generator. You know what I'm saying? So it's not worth it for me to go and buy the inverter when I can buy a whole nother generator for $600-700. So that pretty much puts this generator out of duty. Like I said, it's an inverter generator, so it is a pretty nice one. It has a smooth power band, you know, 60 hertz, a good quality 60 hertz, and puts out 120 just fine. But when it did work, it worked fine. It did have a little fluctuation issues, but I find most generators have that. But it's worthless to me now. I really wish you know, Generac had a better product, because it seems like their backup power stuff does do fine. But I think you know, I guess they need to work on their quality control with these generators. They just the inverter is not serviceable. It's completely sealed in epoxy. So that pretty much leaves this thing as worthless. And like I said, this is the second one that's done it. The other one is redder. It's red. It's a little bigger. It says Honeywell. But it's the second one that's done this. And it's not old. It's not old at all. It's outside of just outside of warranty. So that's worthless. Moving on to this this Champion here. This is what I got to replace it. This Champion was cheaper than that. I got this at Costco. It's a Champion. It's 9,000 starting watts, 7,000 running watts on gasoline. And the cool thing about this is, I don't know if you already see it, but this generator can run on propane. And so what's cool about this is you don't have to store gas in it, and the gas will not eat away at the carb. And a big issue with generator storage is, you know, whether to keep the gas in it, whether to keep it out, the seal's drying up and whatnot. You know, gas only has really a shelf life of 26 days. So once you hit that 26 days, it really starts to gum up. The ethanol eats up all the fuel lines, and the gaskets all in the carburetor over here. And so gas is, if you're running it temporarily, that's cool. It's good, but it's really, today's gasoline at least, is really bad for small engines. Just chews up the carbs, gums it up, causes starting issues. So this thing it can run on gas, and it produces more power on gas. But the cool thing about this is it can run on propane. Puts out less power because the power density of propane is less. But the important thing about that is that it will not gum up the carb. It has propane has basically unlimited shelf life. Most people have a propane cylinder for the grill laying around, so you can just hook that up directly to the generator and run off of it. You won't have carb issues. You don't have to store gas in it. So that's pretty cool about this setup. It pretty much, it has like your basic grill your grill setup, just like your barbecue. Plugs right into the side here. No issues. And yeah, so it's really easy to set up. Sorry, I just heard a loud bang. I'm not really sure what that was. But yeah, it's really easy to set up. And I haven't ran it on gas, so I'm not sure. I've only run it on propane, and I really never want to put gas in this unless it's an emergency situation, and I can just completely drain it out of it. And so far, I've only ran it on propane. It is brand new, and it has pretty much 0 hours on it. Go over it a little bit more. Your gas fill up is up here. It's 8-gallon tank. Apparently, I believe it lasts 11 hours on that tank, which is pretty good. It doesn't click like a car. You got your fuel gauge. I'm not really sure how accurate that is. It comes mostly assembled. You have to put the wheels on, and you have to connect the battery terminals. And besides that, it comes assembled as is. It is a Champion, like I said earlier. It's got, this is like your main battery switch here, kind of your main cutoff for the battery. This is your stop, run, and then if you push it up one more, that's start. It is electric start, or it is pull start as well. And you can do both on propane or gas. You don't have to start it on electric on propane. You can pull it on propane. You got a 240 and 120 here. This is your twist style lock. Say you got a transfer switch or an interlock in your house, so you can hook it up through there. You have two GFCI protected 120 volt outlets as well. As you can see, they got the little GFCI trip and reset. You have a little trippable breakers here. I don't know if they're called breakers, but they're like resets to reset it. You have what they call IntelliGauge here. It gives you your frequency, your volts, and it has an hour meter as well. Something I think I would have liked to see in this is a watt. I don't think it would have cost the company too much more, but a watt, see your used watts or how much watts you have left would have been nice as well. Just because you have dual fuel, and kind of the fuel qualities is a little different, so this may not always be accurate. So be able to see how much reserve power you have left. You could probably do that with your volts and your frequency, but seeing how much watts you've used is kind of nice as well. Right here is a Trickle Charger. The unit does come, this specific unit from Costco does come with a Trickle Charger right here. You can plug it in and it keeps the battery, I believe the output of this is 2 amps. It keeps the battery charged up, ready to go. It has a little LED indicator on it to show you if the battery is charged up or not. And the unit does charge the battery when it's running as well. So it's not necessary to, there's a generator in the engine itself to charge the battery as well. So it's not necessary to have to recharge the battery every time you use it. The wheels are solid rubber, they're not pneumatic. I don't really like dealing with pneumatic wheels this small. It seems like they always go bad, like on a wheelbarrow or something. It always seems like they go bad, go flat, or like the caster wheels of a zero turn. Moving on, over here, as I said earlier, you got your propane connection right here, and this is kind of your fuel selector switch. It's kind of like an interlock in itself, kind of like on an electricity panel. If you want to, you can't, say I turned it on, this is a switch right here, say I turned it on the propane, I can't run it on gas at the same time. You have to turn the propane valve off before you can switch it over to your gas selector. And this allows you to turn on and off your fuel. But we're going to leave it on propane just because that's what I prefer to run at this point. And what's kind of interesting is natural, I don't believe, they don't rate this unit to run on natural gas, but if you look in the comments section of the reviews of this, it says the only reason why they don't suggest running it on natural gas is because of emissions and EPA regulations. So I can't quote on this, and I wouldn't, I have to advise you not to, but I believe it can run on natural gas, like piped from your house, but it just won't meet emissions. So that's something to consider as well. It's got a regulator behind here for the propane, so I'd imagine that might work for natural gas as well. So you got your recoil right here. This is some kind of Honda clone. Most of these engines are very similar. Maybe it's improved Honda clone, I don't know. But it's a 439cc overhead valve. Yeah, overhead valve, Champion power equipment engine. You have a choke up here. And that's nice and easy. Big air filter with air intake down here. Mine came with a little wattage chart. Over here, you can see kind of what's going on. This would be your valves, your carburetor. It does have an electronic fuel shutoff right here, so if you're running it on gas, it'll cut the fuel off right there, and it'll shut right off. Propane, you have to cut it off at the cylinder or on the side of the engine right there, or I mean the side of the generator. Over here you have a pretty big muffler. I will admit this generator, it is a 3600 RPM generator, so it is quite loud. But this muffler does do a good job of dampening the sound. It's got some kind of these lines here run to the fuel tank. It's some kind of I would guess it's a California emissions thing, or maybe because it's producing electricity, you don't want fumes. It looks like it reburns the fumes in the fuel tank and pushes them into the air intake. So it reburns the fuel tank fumes, the gas coming off of it. And yeah, this is the crankcase fumes as well going back in. So it's reburning all that. Pretty normal for an engine. Maybe not this so much. You don't see this too often. This is some kind of gas bottle to pull the fumes out. You got a spark arrestor. Kind of a... I would gamble that it's okay for California because of that. Here's some specs on it. Champion Power Products, made in China. Manufacturer date is 05/18, so it's built this year. 60 hertz, 3600 RPMs, 60 AC amps, and gasoline watts is 7,000, propane watts is 6,300. It does have like a cool, nice lift handle here. It is padded. The unit shipped, I believe, was 224 pounds. And that's with a pallet, I believe, so it's a little less than that. So I guess it's around 200 pounds. The padded handle makes it really nice and easy to wheel. It does wheel very easily. It's got a little stand on the bottom here, rubber kind of hockey puck things down there at the bottom to dampen it. But yeah, overall it does it looks pretty good. Only time will tell, really. These generators never really had an issue until like a year or two after, just out of the warranty period. So time will tell on this. We'll have to see how long this one lasts. Hopefully it lasts a long time because there's less electronics in it. It's not an inverter, but it does have some sort of clean power regulator in it to help it kind of allow it to be able to plug into electronics. I'm not, I wouldn't be like plugging into a hospital electronics, but I do believe you can run, your TV, your game system if you have that, a computer. I do believe this is capable of running it. Its power is smooth enough. It definitely runs a lot of stuff in there. I'll give you a demonstration of it running here in a second. But yeah, so the startup procedure is pretty simple. For propane, you want to cut the gas on like this, just like you would a barbecue grill. You got another valve right here. You can turn it to the green propane symbol. I already had the battery on. Well, there, I just turned it on. Ignition, that's your run position, and you want to choke it 75%, apparently, according to the manual, which there's only 2 notches on and off, so you kind of just got to aim it. And sometimes you got to be quick about this, but start it up just like that. And as you can see, it is a little loud. It is reverberating off the wall there, the exhaust, but I can give you a quick demonstration inside the building. Yeah, you can hear it inside the building, but you can hear me a lot easier. It's not terribly loud. I think if your house was maybe brick, you probably wouldn't be able to hear it outside. It doesn't throttle down like a lot of the ones I've used. Well, the inverter ones, you need an inverter to be able to throttle down. But yeah, so now that it's running, I can show you what's kind of the gauges on it. You got your voltage, which is a little bit high. That's because it's when it takes the load, it'll go down. You want 240 volts is ideal. And you probably didn't just see, but it has voltage is 61, 62, which is good. And you have an hour meter on there, which this unit's brand new, so it doesn't have any hours. I'll let you look at that real quick. can see, it's a good runner. We'll shut it down real quick. So you can see it starts up pretty good, pretty quick on electricity. I mean a battery. So maybe I'll see if I can start it back up here on pulling the rope. A little harder probably, but we'll see. So let's go back here over here, set it to about 75%, cut the gas back on, give her a tug. Pretty easy, pretty simple. All right, you guys, I'm gonna set up a load demonstration here, try to bog this thing down, and I'll get right back with you guys here in a second. All right, YouTube, so I'm set back up here to do a load test. So what's connected to this cord is a 15 amp shop dust collector. It's a big 70 gallon, 2 horsepower dust collector. That would be pushing, to calculate your wattage, you do 120 volts times 15 amps, and that gives you roughly 1800 watts. So this is 1800 watts, and the starting watts on this one is a lot because it's like a traditional old-fashioned, you know, it's got a spool up because it's a vacuum cleaner. It's trying to spin a big flywheel, so it has a very high starting watts. So I would imagine it's probably double, probably about 3,000 watts, maybe even 4,000. It is a pretty big dust collector. So that's what's on this, and I'm going to do this one first. I'm going to plug them in and then turn them on inside my shop. That way I'm not plugging in and it's like arcing across when I plug it in. And so that's what's on this one. And 15 amp, the plugs are rated at 20 amps, so I can't use that plug for this one. This is another vacuum system. This is a 12 amp vacuum system with that pulls 12 amps, and so that's roughly 1500 watts. And so right now we're at like 3,300 watts. I'm not going to engage them at the same time because that's probably a lot of starting watts. I probably could handle it, but it's not. So we're going to be running just above 50% load. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up. I'm going to start it up on propane. This is all run on propane, by the way. I'm going to start it up and then walk inside it, and then I'll engage the 15 amp one, and you'll hear it log down and take the load. You'll hear it lug down, and then you'll hear it even out again. And then once it evens out, I'll hit the other load, the 12 amp load, and you should be able to hear that as well. I believe the rating on this is 50 or 60 amps, so we should be good. So like I showed you earlier, ignition, power, turn the cylinder gas on, and choke it 75%. Maybe a little bit more. As you can see, we're still putting out acceptable ratings. Alright, as you can see, it run pretty smooth under load. This is roughly 50%. It's bogged down about halfway. For propane at least. For gas I'd be able to put a little bit more. So I'll go shut off the amp. Amp is off, so I'll go ahead and do the 15 amp. Alright, that's unloaded now. We'll go ahead and shut her back down. Just as simple as that. And like I said, I was running about 3,500 watts there, which is about half of what this is capable of. I kind of reached my amp limit. But yeah, so pretty simple. Apparently I can get under 50% load, which that was just running at. I burn about a gallon of propane per hour. So one of these propane tanks hold between like 4 and 5 gallons. I think about 5 gallons. So that would last about 5 hours, probably a little less. About 5 hours on one of these little propane cylinders. And I want to say you get 11 hours on the gasoline if you were to run it on gasoline. I'm not sure, you'd probably get a little bit less on natural gas just because natural gas is less power dense. But yeah, so that's pretty much it on that. I'll get back to you guys. I'm going to clean up real quick and I'll sort of give a little summary at the end here. Alright you guys, to sum this all up, you know, only time will tell really about this generator. I already see it kind of outlasting this one. There's less electronics in it, less things to go wrong, I hope. And yeah, it's more of a, that's more of like if you're going on a, you know, tailgate or camp out, that's when you want to bring it's a lot quieter. But this one's more of like ice storm, you lose power, or if it's such in my area, big tornadoes come through here and knock out power lines, big transmission lines, and we can go out without power for a little while. But yeah, this is not going to back up your entire house. This is not going to run your 5-ton AC unit, but will provide a lot of power for you to be able to run what you're probably looking for to run. It is capable, it says on here, it's just shy of a 2-ton AC unit. So you should be able to run a 2-ton AC unit. Like I said, it just really depends on the unit, really. But AC units have really high starting watts, so that's really only the issue there. But you could run a 2-ton AC unit, which is most houses, normal size houses have a 2-ton AC unit. And of course you'd have to hardwire a transfer switch and all that stuff in. But yeah, like I said, time will tell. Like, this is a Chinese generator technically, but I believe Champion is more of a higher quality Chinese manufacturer. They actually have a little manufacturing sticker up here. It's Yayo Feng, Y-A-O-F-E-N-G is probably really who makes it. I think I've been to their website and their equipment looks identical to this. But yeah, hopefully it's higher quality. I mean, all these little generators nowadays are made in China. This one's made in China, the Honeywell's made in China. So that's not really what concerns me. It's just like, will it last? And with that, only time will tell. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on this unit. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, let me know below. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.